Hi, I'm Dr. Anthea Rhodes, paediatrician and director of the RCH National Child Health Poll, and today I'm joined by Dr. Warwick Teague, head of the trauma service here at RCH. We're going to be talking about the findings from the latest Child Health Poll, knowing which car seats parents use for their child and when, and clearing up some confusion, particularly about knowing when it's safe for your child to travel even without a booster seat. So Warwick, choosing the safest car seat option and using that car seat correctly is one of the best ways that parents can help to prevent devastating injuries and sometimes even death and winding up somewhere like this, an intensive care unit. So let's perhaps start with infant car seats and capsules. Babies are supposed to be facing backward in the car. Why is this so important?
Babies have a really large head compared with the rest of their body. So in the moment of a crash, when devastating forces are running through all the people inside that car, everyone who is forward facing is subjected to terrible force along their head and neck, and a baby's head is just too big for their neck, and so they're going to have terrible injuries, and we can prevent many of those by keeping them rearward facing. They might be 5 times safer by being rearward facing than if they were forward facing.
So we found that around 1 in 10 children are already forward facing before they turn 1, and the vast majority are forward facing by 1.5. What would you recommend is safest? Perhaps keeping them rearward facing a bit longer?
There are good choices as consumers for us to buy another car seat which keeps our children rearward facing, and they can be safely kept that way until their 2nd birthday, often closer to their 3rd birthday.
What was really interesting for us and seems to be confusing for parents is knowing when it's safest for a child to come out of the booster. So they're sitting in a car seat without any restraint, just with an adult seatbelt. On average, children are doing that around 7 or 8 years of age, and by the time they turn 9, only 1 in 10 children are still using a booster seat here in Australia. So while that's legal, can you tell us about whether it's the safest option?
The best practice, the safest recommendation we can bring is not based on age but on size, and that is that a child is only safely restrained within an adult lap/seatbelt once they reach 145 centimetres of height. All the children who are smaller than 145 centimetres need to be in a booster seat in order to be kept safe within the car.
And why is that? What is it about that booster seat that changes the safety of the seatbelt?
Without the booster seat, the child who's less than 145 centimetres, in order to have their knees bend around the front of the seat, will invariably slouch, dropping down in height. The result of that is that the lap part of the seatbelt, instead of being low and tight around the hip and the pelvic bones, will ride up high and up to the belly button. And in the event of a crash, when these devastating forces are going through their bodies, those forces are going to be not distributed by the strong bones of the pelvis, but driven into the tummy. The sash part of the seatbelt is also not doing the job it was designed to do. It was designed to cross at the shoulder and the breastplate, again distributing these terrible forces from the crash through strong bones of the body. Instead of that, the child who is slumped down low without the booster seat has that crossing at the level of the neck. So there are devastating injuries to the spine and to the blood vessels on the neck. These can make for some of the worst injuries we see in children in a place like this intensive care unit.
So 145 centimetres is really that magic number when children are getting tall enough to sit safely. What age would a child typically reach 145 centimetres?
A child typically reaches 145 centimetres around 10 years of age. Many children will still not be 145 centimetres even at 11 years of age. Only the exceptionally tall child will have exceeded 145 centimetres by 9 years of age.
So these children who are 7, 8 and 9, sitting in the car just with a seat belt and no booster seat, are not in the safest position possible.
No, and the addition of the booster seat to those children would reduce their risk of serious injury by up to 80%.
Let's talk about the front seat of the car. So we found 50% of kids aged between 7 and 12 travel up front in the car at least some of the time, with parents saying they prefer it, kids are happier in the front, and also telling us they think they're old enough or big enough to be sitting there. What can you tell us about safety and travelling in the front when it comes to kids?
The safest position in a car for a child is in the rear seats. Children are not safe in the front seat for a variety of different reasons, including the presence of airbags. We want to put our children in the safest position. That's the rear seat.
Okay, so kids up to 12, wherever there's a spot in the back, that's where they should be sitting. And if they're not that 145 centimetres, which it sounds like typically would be 10 or even 11 years of age, they should be in a booster seat in the back seat.
It's not about age, it's about height.
So if you're at home and you've got a child aged between 7 and 12, we'd love you to make a mark on your wall at 145 centimetres and measure them up to help you know whether they're safe yet to be travelling without a booster seat. And if you found this video helpful, please share it with your family and friends.